So there's this new Crash Bandicoot fan game just come out. It's called Back in Time. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. It's got a level editor in it, which I really like. And I recently made a video about it where I played through the game a little bit. I had a mess around with the level editor. I made my own level. And then I ended the video by showing a recreation that I'd made of that level in the N. Sane Trilogy using my own level editor. Fun fact, I haven't actually made that level yet. I'm talking to you from the past because I thought that since I more or less documented the whole process of making the level that I made in Back in Time, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to also show you how I made the N. Sane Trilogy version. Because I haven't made a video about my level editor for a while, I thought it might be an interesting way to show you how it's coming along. So this is what that level that I made in the Crash Creator, which is the level editor for Back in Time. This is what it looked like. This is what I'm going to try to recreate within the N. Sane Trilogy. Let's see how we get on. Wait, before I go any further with this, I just want to stop and interrupt myself for a minute. This is me from the future while I'm in the middle of editing all this footage down to something that's not 5 hours long. I just thought it was worth briefly mentioning something that I've been working on a little bit since the recording of this. And I've also shown it briefly on Twitter, so if I didn't say something now, people would ask me about it. I have managed to add a little experimental feature to my NST level editor that will let you basically automatically do a lot of what you're about to watch me struggling to do for a few hours. I added in this option that will let you load up a level that has been created in and exported from the Crash Creator in Back in Time. And from that, it will automatically generate a sort of template for this editor, similar to the old template feature I had in this that I still need to get working again. And then you can just export the level straight away without doing anything else, and you'll have a version of your Back in Time level that is playable in the N. Sane Trilogy. Or you could just use it as a starting point to build something else around it. It won't work for everything, but for the most part, if you're only using crates and you make something that's similar to the flashback tapes in Back in Time, it should do a pretty okay job with stuff like that. And yeah, admittedly, the fact that I was able to take levels made with another editor that uses this drag and drop any crate you want style interface and load them into my editor, maybe that does mean I could have an interface like that just built into my editor anyway. But that's a whole other thing to think about, and we can discuss that later. For now, I'm just here to show you what the current version of the level editor looks like and how I spent far too long making a very simple level. Enjoy. So I have the level editor ready to go over here. This is what it's looking like at the moment. I think all of this is pretty identical to the last time I showed it. And then over on my other screen, I have the recording of me making that level in the Crash Creator and then playing through it at the end. So I'm going to look back and use this as a reference for trying to remake it, because this is easier than having that game running as well as everything else. I did mention in that other video, and I've shown it before, I did have something similar to what they've done with the Crash Creator, where you can start with an empty template and you can make a side scroll level really easily. That feature doesn't currently work, so instead I'm going to pick an existing level. I was thinking of using Stormy Ascent because it's just a nice, easy level to work with for a few different reasons, and I'm going to turn that into this. It took me about 13 minutes to make all of this. This video is about 80 minutes long because it includes me trying to complete it at the end. So we're going to see how long it takes me to reproduce all of this in my own level editor. Here we go. This is Stormy Ascent. This timer here will be very helpful with comparing how long it takes me to make this compared to the 13 minutes I spent on the other version. I find it's always good to start with the most complicated thing, which would be these Uka Uka crates. These things do not exist in the N. Sane Trilogy. But what happens when you break them, you get a little Uka Uka mask following you around, and that gives you the ability to do this double jump. There you go, when he zaps a laser towards you. It also starts a timer that's basically the same as a time trial in the other Crash games. So there's a couple of different things going on when you break one of these crates, and I want to recreate that in this game. Aku Aku crates might seem like a good place to start, but I think what I'm actually going to do is a bit of magic with some switch crates. Let me just press this thing on my mouse so it's a bit quieter. I grab a switch crate from the bonus round and just plonk it down over here. I'm not going to build the level in this area, I'm just putting stuff down here at the start so I can see what's happening. and see if everything works. So what I want to happen is I need a crate that when I break it will enable me to double jump. I may not be able to recreate that functionality exactly the same, but we'll see. And secondly, I want to start a time trial, the same kind of thing that would happen when you normally pick up this stopwatch. The reason why I'm using a switch crate for this is because that's two different things that I want to happen when I break it. And like, you can change the object that you pick up when you break an Aku Aku crate, but having more than one thing happen would make it a bit more complicated, and I don't really have a way to do that within the editor, so I'm not going to try and do it that way. The thing where you actually have an Uka Uka mask following you around, I might leave that part out. I have made a mod for the Insane Trilogy to replace Aku Aku with Uka Uka, but as you can see there, the Uka Uka mask you get in this game doesn't actually give you any extra hit points, so doesn't really work the same way, and it's probably easier actually to just take Aku Aku out of the equation completely by setting the Aku Aku mode to disabled. I still want this to look like an Aku Aku crate, or rather an Uka Uka crate, but actually what I'm going to do first is go up to this import menu, grab a template to get loads of different crate types available. That's always a good idea. That's always a good place to start. And now that that's loaded, I have the option to turn this crate into many other different types of crates. But I think I'll be okay to just stick to a standard Aku Aku for this one. I'm also going to say, yes, I want this to be included in the crate total. By ticking this little box here, it will actually contribute to the total number of crates the game wants you to break to get the gem. I guess there's no gems in this version, but I might as well put one in because I can. I'm also going to change this spawn rate to 0 so that the two things that appear when you break it will appear instantly. This crate, when it's broken, will activate these two outline crates. There's bonus random outlined and bonus TNT outlined 001. So I think I'm good to apply that for now. Hasn't actually updated to look like an Aku Aku crate, which it should do. I've broken something there. Oh god. What does that mean? Oh, I know what I've done. There we go. Basically, because I imported another file into it, nothing was selected, so when I clicked on the button, it didn't know what I was doing. I think we're all good now, though. Yep, it's remembered everything. Cool. I'm going to copy the position of this, find those two crates, random outlined. Everything is running a little bit slower because I'm recording, and then TNT outlined 1. If I play the level now, what will happen is I'll break this Aku Aku crate. I won't get an Aku Aku because I've disabled it, and these two crates will both pop in instantly. I guess I might as well test it just to demonstrate and to check that things are working okay. So I want to see that 0 in the crate count go up to a 1, and I want these two crates here to appear when I break this thing that looks like an Aku Aku crate. Let's go. Boom. Perfect. Beautiful. But I don't want them to be crates. I do not want this to be a TNT. I want one of them to start the time trial and the other one to give me the double jump ability, which I don't currently have. Can you hear me pressing the X button multiple times? So if I take this TNT outline crate, go into its properties, instead of spawning it as a TNT when it's activated, I'm going to see if I can find, here it is, the time trial start thing, which is this stopwatch here. I'm also going to say I don't want this one to be included in the crate total because it's no longer a crate. What that's going to do is when I break this, another one of these stopwatches is going to appear here, which isn't enough. I want it to actually start the time trial. So if I grab the actual template object for this and go into this, the properties for this, you can see the hitbox for the stopwatch normally is 110. That's the distance away from it you can get before you pick it up. So what I'm going to do to make sure that the time trial starts as soon as this appears is just that. And also, to stop the time trial from starting automatically when you play the level, I'm going to get rid of this stopwatch that normally appears in this little alcove here. So that's the time trial taken care of. What about the double jump? Well, if I go to this other outline crate and then have a look in the list for crash crates, there's also somewhere in here all of the power-up hiccups, including the double jump. I should be able to do the same thing that I did with the stopwatch, increase the radius from which you pick it up, and now when I break this Aku Aku box, I should automatically be given the double jump, and the time trial should start as well. I still don't have the double jump unlocked. We'll see what happens when I break this now. There we go. You saw them both appear, and you saw them both automatically get collected, and I guess they never expect you to see this screen when you're playing a Crash 1 level, which reminds me I do need to change this into Crash 2 mode to match the control scheme used in Back in Time. But there we go, I broke an Aku Aku box, it activated the time trial, and it also gave me the double jump. The only thing is, when I die, I'm still going to be able to double jump, and that is now just permanently unlocked on this save file. There isn't really a simple way to make that deactivate when I die or anything. I guess the last thing to do with this Aku Aku crate is make it look like an Uka Uka crate. Conveniently, since I have made an Uka Uka mod in the past, I actually already have a texture where I replaced the Aku Aku icon with the picture of Uka Uka from CTR. So I think all I'm going to do is export this, and then I need to change the texture in this level. So there isn't really a simple way to do that just by messing with this object. I actually have to do something a little bit awkward just because of how this works at the moment. I need to change something else into one of these crates. It doesn't look correct, but don't worry about that for now. And then go into this texture menu, find the decal texture, and then replace that with the one that I just exported from my other mod. So you're not going to see any changes in the editor for that because I'm using these basic models to represent crates. But I can change this back to normal. It didn't actually change back to normal. I guess it's a bit broken. There we go. But when I play this, this should now look like an Uka Uka crate. And also, you know what I can do? Send both of these back to where they normally are. If I reset these, it'll just reset everything on here. So that's basically just the location. It won't change any of the other settings. I think that looks quite cool. I don't know about you, and it does take a second, but there's the double jump unlocked, and the time trial has started when I broke the crate. It's not quite an exact recreation. Functionally, it's probably about as similar as I'm going to be able to get it. Now that I've demonstrated a way that you can achieve that effect, I think I'm going to stop the double jump, which I think was this one, from activating. So it will just now turn the time trial on, just because that message popping up all the time is a little bit annoying, and I can't be bothered to fix it properly. I guess the only other thing about the Uka Uka crates is that there's 3 of them. If I copy the location of this crate, and then just pick any old random other crate, and I guess that's actually, yeah, it's just that one. If I paste it on here, change its entity data to be the same as the other one, which would be this, I think, and do the same here. 3 identical Uka Uka crates. But I don't want these to be here. There's all this other crap in the way. This existing level. I'm going to build my level somewhere completely out of the way. The first thing to do is grab my spawn point, and what I normally do is just 50,000, 50,000, 50,000. Here he is, a long way away from where all that other stuff is. And to make sure I can actually see what's going on when I spawn in, I'm just going to set this to the default camera for now. I need something to land on. I've got this ground here that I start on normally. I can't be bothered to deal with that at the moment, so what I'm actually going to do, something that I mocked the creators of the N. Sane Trilogy for, just put down a floor made of iron crates. It is actually a very good way to build a level on a grid. So I'll just put down a little platform here for now. I'm going to start with a bounce crate, and then I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 of these random crates. I'm assuming that Stormy Ascent already contains all the crates that I need, but we'll see. Doesn't matter if it doesn't. So I'm going to put this here just to make it easier to align everything to the grid. So I am basically just doing what it seems like they did in the Insane Trilogy. I'm building everything around a grid of iron crates, and then later I'm going to switch all these off so they're not in the finished level. Oh, there's my wallpaper that I made in Dreams. Rest in peace. Then I need 4 and 4 random crates. Let's see what we've got. Stormy Ascent's unusual because all of the crates are in the same file. That's not very common, and it gives me a bit of a headache. There actually aren't many of these random crates in Stormy Ascent, but that's okay. Just like the way I managed to create 3 copies of my Uka Ruka crate, I can create more random crates by just turning other things into random crates. Just got to make sure all of the entity data is the same. In here, this will do. Of course, you can still move things around with the mouse like this, but just when you're trying to stick to a grid like this, probably easier to just paste the coordinates and then adjust slightly. I do have a thing for snapping crates to each other, but apparently it's broken at the moment, so this is just the easiest way to do it. Let's avoid the outline crates for now. Okay, is that what I needed to do? That looks right, and then I've got a space of 2 before I get to my Uka crates. So let me actually find the original one I made, which was this first switch, and then I'm going to zoom back over here, paste it over there, and just grab these 2 on here so I don't have to remember which ones they are in the list. Paste that there, zoom back over, and then arrange them nice and neatly. Don't put crates on top of each other like this, it causes all sorts of problems in the editor and in the game. Okay, now I also need a 3 crate and a nitro crate. You can turn any crate into a time trial crate if I can find where they are in the list. Time trial 3, there we go. And I do actually want to make sure that all of these are set to don't change under the time trial setting, because I don't want any of them to change when the time trial activates. These random crates normally would change into basic crates once I break the Uka Ruka. So I want to make sure all of these are set to not change. And then this bounce crate would have turned into a 2-second time crate if I didn't remember to do this. Okay, so now all of these crates should stay the same as they currently are when the time trial is active. I now need to put a nitro crate down on top of this one. Now there's no nitros in Crash 1 normally, but as I have demonstrated before, it is possible to put them in. Now I realise in this game the nitros don't bounce, do they? So maybe I'll have to replace them with non-bouncing nitros, but we'll see how we get on with these for now. I've got a space of 3, and then I do need some TNTs. So I did have TNTs in this level. I turned them all into these 3-second time crates, so I need something else instead. Let's try one of these bonus round crates, because I don't have any use for those in my level. 5, okay. And then I think there's a bit of a gap before some nitros over here. Okay, I think that more or less covers the first part before this slope, so I should probably run the game and make sure all of this is working okay. Okay, so everything does appear to be reversed. That should be a simple case of rotating the spawn point by 180 degrees. Luckily I have this default camera so I can look around a bit. All the crates are here. Hopefully when I break these, the time trial will start, but all the crates will remain in their current state. Let's see. Yes. It took a second for that to happen. I might have to look into speeding that up. Ah, there's one down here that is not correct. This guy needs to be turned back into a TNT. And here's the jumping nitros that may cause me some issues. I do need to turn this into Crash 2 mode, so it's actually sort of playable. And I need to make sure you die if you fall down there. I'm very high above where the death plane normally is, so I need to adjust that as well. Right. Spawn point, let's spin this around. That should sort the camera out. Then this crate caused me some issues. Oh, here we go, basic. Cool. I do also want to... So, we're spawning in about 50,000. I'm going to go back to this world entity where I disabled the Aku Aku mask before. And I'm going to set the death plane to about 49,500. So, if I fall 500 below where this is, I will die. I won't fall endlessly. The thing we've got to deal with after all this is this hill, this slope here, before we get to the final 2 crates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across, 5 up, and then the switch. Okay, I think this is right. Getting a bit of a headache from trying to count all the ups and rights and everything, but I think that's right. And then I need an iron switch there, and then just over to the side. Okay, so there's a gap of 3 after this bit, and then a 1-up crate. And then the final crate I need is going to be above this thing, and it needs to be the nitro switch crate, which is not present anywhere in Stormy Ascent because it's a Crash 1 level and there's no nitros or nitro switches in Crash 1 levels. But I think there is still something I can do about that. Because I imported this Crash crates file, I think I can probably find one in here, in this long list of crates. I could have been using these all along, but just to make things easier, I was sticking to the ones that are in Stormy Ascent. But if I turn this one on and paste it over here, that should all work okay. Before I test again, I might as well put down the exit, which needs to be on top of this one. I'm going to assume it's in the main Stormy Ascent file. Can I see it in here? Game, entity, maybe it isn't. Maybe I should just go and actually find it and click on it in level. Here we go, this is what I'm looking for, which, of course it's in the crates file. That's very unusual. This is much bigger than it is in Back in Time. Can I make it smaller? I don't actually know if this will work. Some objects don't really resize when you tell them to. You don't get the gem in this version, but I might as well give you that option. It's a bit tight over here, but I think I can squeeze in the crate counter. I'll just put it on top of the exit, actually. I know that's not how it's usually done, and it might not even work, but we'll find out eventually. I will have to disable all the crates that I'm not using to make sure the crate count is accurate, but I can't be bothered to try and figure out which ones I need and which ones I don't just yet, so we'll see if this all works all right first. So everything is now orientated the way I want it to be. These are all looking good. I have still forgotten to set this to Crash 2 mode, so I can't really jump over these properly. I guess I can try and maneuver my way around, but yeah, I can see everything looks good up there. I'm going to turn this into Crash 2 mode before I forget, because I keep forgetting. I also would like to reduce that lag time in activating the time trial, and I'm wondering if that's just happening because it's so far away. I don't want it to actually be visible. There's a couple of things I can do about that. First of all, I could make it start out as just something nonsense, but I think what's safer to do actually, similar to how I changed the texture on the Aku crate. I'm just going to bring some random piece of scenery up here. I'm going to change it to use the, here we go, and go to edit model and disable this, and now it's invisible. So that will also apply to this thing, it just doesn't update that for crates in the editor. Am I able to do the same thing for the stopwatch just to make it invisible? Will this work? I don't know, we'll find out. I guess the only other gameplay element would be the armadillos. The way they work here is, it is possible to make armadillos behave like that, where they'll just drop down and walk back and forward in that gap, but I sort of wanted them to be patrolling up and down the slope, so I'll probably just get like 2 and have them walk up and down this slope. I also have an easy way to bring some armadillos in, which is just to load in this camera trigger template. I'm not going to explain that again. I've spent enough time talking about why armadillos are related to switching cameras in my custom levels. I think this template system might work a little bit differently to the last time I showed it off though. I can only see these camera triggers because by default it's only showing the things that are included with the template. If I untick this, I can then see in this list everything that was switched off in order to turn this into a template for just the camera triggers. So I'm going to find myself some armadillos. Here's one of them. I do need to turn it back on again. There he is. Question is this rotation going to be accurate? If I put him down about at the bottom and then rotate him, I guess it'll be 45 degrees. That makes sense. And then let me grab another one. I'll put him up at the top and see if I can get him going in the other direction. This may not work at all. So I should now have two armadillos that are hopefully pacing back and forth on this slope, going in opposite directions. They might potentially kill each other when they come into contact. Also, should I bring this? I don't actually know if moving the stopwatch here will make it be picked up any faster, but I might as well get the double jump involved in this as well. And I can just bury it underground here, I suppose, if I don't have an easy way to make it invisible. Right, let's see what this looks like. Let's see if it had the desired effect. Sort of. This turned into a crate because I hadn't updated that to be not changed as well in the time trial settings. But that's okay. Here's my armadillo friends. They are both walking backwards. Oh god. I'm going to leave them. I like the moonwalking armadillos. Here's where the gem would appear if I'd broken everything. That didn't work exactly how I wanted it to. I think I might need to move the exit a little bit. Sorry, I'm just going to record this record time for Stormy Ascent. Okay, so what happened there was this is the double jump, which is the one I wanted to be down here. This is the time trial thing. Now that I know it is invisible, I can just put it right here. This was originally somewhere down here in the bonus round. Even though you pick it up from anywhere, it still has to travel all the way from down here to up here before it activates. So hopefully that'll take care of that. This exit, yeah, here we go. There's a cylinder, an invisible cylinder. Well, it's not that invisible because you can see the spinning particle effects around it in the level, but I can make this a much smaller area and then hopefully it'll be possible for me to jump over it. The last thing I guess I need to do with the crates is disable all the ones that I'm not using. I'll leave these iron ones in until I've built the scenery, but everything else, it should actually be pretty simple to figure out. I just need to look at all of these. Anything that doesn't have a position in the 50,000s should be safe to switch off. So I'm just going to go through the list and turn off everything that shouldn't be switched on. Okay, I've just disabled, I think, all the ones that I'm not using. I'm going to have to check in the game to see if the crate count is now accurate and whether or not it's possible to get the gem. So this is saying 26 crates. I think in the original version there was only 20, so I must have missed something somewhere. We'll see how close I can get to breaking them all. Ow. Oh god. This is all really functional. Okay, this is the part that's really tricky in the original version. And my controller's lagging a bit because I've got so much shit running, so... Okay, no, it's alright. 24. Okay. 25. There's a crate somewhere. Oh, here we go. Maybe it's this one. Oh, and it's still there now. That's good. What's that doing there? Oh, this is a bit awkward. Ah, let me actually just count how many crates are physically here. 1, 9, 20, 24... 25. There are 25. I think I'm just misremembering. I think there were 25. I think originally there were 20, but then I added some more. So there is just one crate somewhere that still counts when it shouldn't. Ah, I found it. It was the second crate in the list. For some reason, I didn't turn this one off. It was 25, not 20. Okay, cool. You know what? Before I forget, I think I need to put down some invisible walls so this will turn into a properly 2D side-scrolling level. At the moment, it's a 3D level, and you can just very easily walk off the side. So I'm going to grab some of these things from the border file. I'm going to grab two that have some rotation to them, just because it's usually a bit... what's going on? Oh, my leg was pushing on the analog stick of the controller. Let's just make this massive. Don't know why I went for 4,000. I'm going to go 4,000. That's also the wrong axis. That's all right. Oh, God. That should cover me. So this is the simplest way to restrict your movement to just 2D. And then if I just find the other one of these that had some rotation to it, paste it. All of this stuff here, I should now have a fully functional 2D level. Great. I'm not going to worry about the background just yet. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to attempt to do it. Let's see if I can put some ground in over here. I don't think there's really anything in Stormy Ascent that I can use. But I'll tell you what some of my favourite models from any levels in the game are when it comes to making my own stuff. It's these Snow Island models. These are from the side-scrolling sections of the snow levels. This is what the Snow Island models look like. This will look like it's made of snow and ice, but just by changing the textures a bit, you can fix that. This grass texture, I'm pretty sure I ripped it from Twinsanity at some point. It hasn't actually updated here. It's supposed to, so that's something I need to fix. Let me just switch on collision before I forget to do that, that's important. That's probably about right, and I guess I want to move the spawn point over. Actually, I want to make sure this is at 50,000 exactly, because I think everything else is, and I want to make sure I'm not spawning inside those invisible walls that I put up. Over here and over here, I need some kind of temple stone material like this. Let's have a look inside temple ruins. I mean, I guess a simple cube like this is probably the most accurate. I mean, it's never that easy to tell how this is actually going to look in game, but we'll find out in a bit. Is that correct? I think so. Question is now, how do I make this little hill? There is supposed to be another sloped piece here, but I accidentally deleted it with an armadillo, so I will put in like a full slope. Oh, I just realised I've done something wrong here. These need to be raised up. I haven't really used iron crates in a very consistent way. On this bit, they are actually where the floor is, and over here, they're above where the floor is. Okay, so I've got a bit more floor here. That's probably alright. Now I just need to join up this bit to this bit with a bit of sloping dirt. I mean, this Island Jut model is pretty triangular, or it's quite close, isn't it? I mean, this isn't going to be the most beautiful thing in the world, but I'll make sure to turn collision on. I always forget to turn collision on. Oh, this is going to be so ugly. Should I try to square off these corners? Oh yeah, this is looking so good. I mean, all this stuff's just going to be floating in the air anyway, so I don't think it matters too much. Oh dear. I think it might be time to switch all of these off so I can get a better look at, there we go, what it's actually going to look like. Something really fun's just happened, which is the mouse controls on the editor have sort of completely broken. So I can still zoom in and out, but I can't really click on anything. I mean, it's good timing that I just got all this stuff in position, but yeah, I'm going to save this and see how it looks in game. Oh, okay, cool. Not only is the editor now pretty broken, the game's also crashing when I start playing the level. So that's fun. Possibly something to do with the collision. It's a bit awkward because I can't just click on these anymore. Ah, okay. Well, I've identified that whatever the problem is, it's something to do with the art file. I've just switched that off and the level now loads, although it's not exactly playable. That's going to be a problem with one of these objects that I used or one of these models that I used. It's a bit awkward that I can't just click on these and select them. But look, at least this is proof that this editor isn't actually working properly yet. I think the problem is with that stone model that I was using. I switched collision off for that model and everything's fine now. The borders I put in to turn this into a 2D level are not quite right. I appear to be spawning inside one of them after all, and it's pushing me behind it, so I can't actually get to any of these boxes. But at least the level's actually loading again now. Also, apparently if you activate a time trial and die immediately afterwards, it continues to stay activated after you've died and is now activated forever. That's interesting. So the problem I'm having with these border things that I can't click on is going to be tricky to deal with because I can no longer rotate the camera. I also need, I think, to change these stone models into some other kind of stone model. Let's just try this. This is the wrong size, but let's just see if this works. Okay, so that doesn't work either. New plan. I'm not going to put any collision onto the temple models. What I'm going to do instead is just grab some more invisible walls and do things the old-fashioned way. The collision system I'm using, I haven't put as much time into it yet as I want to. I'm now actually on the correct plane. I'm not going to fall off the side by going forward or backwards. This bit of ground is still using the proper collision thing, and all of the stone, I'm back to using the old-fashioned invisible walls method, because there's something wrong with those models that doesn't work with my collision system. There should still be proper collision on this slope over here, which I'm finally seeing in game for the first time. I don't know how long it's been since I put it in. Oh, cool. I actually broke that life crate over there by spinning an armadillo into it. That wasn't the intended way of doing it, but if it works, it works. And I got the double jump again. But there's the gem. Oh my god. Oh my god. Everything functions as expected now, which is fantastic. What else do I need to do? I was debating before whether or not I should bother trying to add in the background. I've spent a lot longer on this than I was planning to, because it was a lot more broken than I thought it would be. Recording at the same time probably quadruples how long it takes to do anything, so I may, save this project, reopen it later after I've had some sleep, and add in a background. I don't really think there's much else that needs doing besides that. I mean, okay, I've still got this default camera on. Lighting and stuff I'd probably add in as part of the background. Can we play it like this? Is this better? Does this make it easier? How do I get rid of this menu? I think I've broken the game. 5 seconds and a double jump. It is possible to complete the level. Platinum relic for me. And yeah, this is still completely broken, so I'm definitely not going to do any more work on this for now. I will save the project and come back to it later and turn it into the version that you will have seen at the end of that other video. But before I go, the current timer is saying 2 hours 52... 2 hours 53 minutes, which is longer than I was expecting to take. Recording at the same time does add probably at least 2.5 hours, which is why I don't make many videos actually showing me making stuff in the editor. I hope you see what I mean now when I say this thing isn't quite finished yet. And just like magic, here is the finished version of the level as it appeared in my Back in Time video. And if you saw that video, you might have seen that the final creation time came in at about 5 hours 37. So there was another couple of hours work after I finished recording before. If I switch back to the editor now, you can see it's now at 5 hours 46. That's just because it's ticked up another few minutes while I've been setting up to record again and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought I might as well check in and show you the final version in the editor, since I went to all the trouble of recording the first 3 hours of work that I put into it. I never bothered to replace these platforms with models that actually had working collision, so there's still some invisible walls there. This and this, the green stuff, which is now textured correctly now that I've closed and reopened the editor a couple of times. This is all using the proper collision system. There's something a bit funny going on with these armadillos. I've spent so many days of my life trying to get these control points to display properly when things are rotated around, and I guess this is one little aspect of that I haven't quite got around to fixing yet. They do actually walk up and down the slope. A couple of other things I added were I changed the camera a bit. I think last time I showed off the 3D camera, I was using the jet ski levels to get it. I then discovered it also exists in some of the cutscene levels, which have a lot less crap in them, so they work better for templates. That's why this is up here. I brought in some lighting from the Great Gate, and also the art file from Hang 8. That's probably the most obvious change since you last saw this. Basically, this is my attempt at roughly recreating the background. The reason why I imported the Hang 8 art file, which you can see most of down here, is because it makes it really easy to make repeating backgrounds. The Crash 2 river levels, of which Hang 8 is one of them, are made up of quite modular scenery elements. So if I drag this over here, you can see this is actually a group of loads of different objects just grouped under this one entity here. I recently added a little keyboard trick so I can move this whole thing around just by clicking and dragging. or you can move around the individual elements within it. It's probably more obvious if I increase the size of this. There you go. Basically, there are several copies of this same prefab used in the level. What that means is you can like change this into some other kind of model and it will update every copy of this prefab throughout the level. If you make like a small section of a repeating background, it will update all of the other prefabs that use the same model list to look exactly the same as that one, and then you can just have several next to each other in a row. So you can see the remnants of what this prefab used to be is the one with these temples either side of the riverbank. If I just move this one on its own, you can see where the join actually is. So basically I just took one of these prefabs, changed all the models and moved things around so it looked like this, which is a sort of vague recreation of the castle background that is in the Crash Creator. And I just brought another 2 copies of this prefab up here, lined them up so it all joined together quite nicely. Getting prefabs working this well within the editor is actually quite a recent thing that I've been working on, and it was a lot of work. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity to really give it a thorough test by spending a couple of hours on making this kind of repeating background. That's where most of the work went, in that extra, I think about 2.5 hours that I added on off camera. I did have a few problems with getting the game camera working, but most of the time I spent on this background. I did move the double jump, it's under here somewhere, that collectible. I think everything else is pretty much the same. Level exit has disappeared. That's something I probably need to look into at some point. I also don't know yet what caused the camera controls and like clicking on things to break. That was a bit glitchy as well there. I definitely identified a few major issues with this level editor while I was working on this, which is always fun. I've actually got some footage to look at to help me figure out some of what was going wrong, so hopefully I'll get that stuff fixed. I just thought this would be potentially interesting, slightly different way of showing how the editor's coming along. Once I realised that I spent over 5 hours just making this tiny little level, I went back to a few of the other levels that I've made in the past and checked how long I'd actually spent working on those. The Insanity Beach remake that I did, I spent about 47 hours on, and the Great Gate / Boulders level that I made was 53. So about 10 times as long as it took me to make this. And I think they are both more than 10 times the size and complexity of this level. And the editor has come a long way since then. That was like 3 years ago. I should probably hurry up and get it finished and released before another 3 years pass. So I'm going to go and do that. In the meantime, while you wait for this, check out Crash Bandicoot Back in Time. Have a go with the Crash Creator, and then probably never bother with this when it's released, because that is much easier to use. And I'll be back when I'm back. Bye.